Oscillators and resonant systems. We may describe an oscillator as any object that moves in a regular, periodic manner. We may call a vibrating string an oscillator, or a weight hanging from a spring. Or a pendulum, anything that performs a repetitive periodic movement, that is, vibrates. We may generalize and say that oscillators produce a sound or a note, whether audible or not, as long as they alter their environment in a periodic manner. That environment may be tissue, as in the heart aorta oscillating system, water, air, electrical fields, gravitational fields, or anything else. Suppose we tune two violins, then put one of them on the table and play a note on the other. If we watch carefully, we shall see that the same string that we are playing on one violin is also humming on the violin that we placed on the table. Clearly, there is a sympathetic resonance between the two. Let us analyze what is happening. When we draw the bow over a string, it vibrates at its own natural frequency, which we call self-frequency. Since the two violins are correctly tuned, we know that the natural frequencies of both strings were identical. Within a system like this, we shall call the two violins a system. It is very easy to transfer energy. In this case, we are talking about acoustical energy. The air waves generated by the first violin impinge on the second violin. The string that is tuned to the emitted note will absorb the energy of the waves of that frequency preferentially because that energy comes to it at its own natural frequency. The energy transfer within this system is therefore optimum, and such a system made up of two tuned oscillators is called a resonant system. Let us take another example. Suppose we get several old-fashioned pendulum-type grandfather clocks. Let us hang them on a wall and arrange their pendulums so that they will start out beating each at a different angle, that is, out of phase with each other. In a day or two we shall find that all the pendulums are beating in phase, as if locked together. Pendulum length should be the same for all of them. Here we see that the tiny amount of energy that was transmitted through the wall from clock to clock was sufficient to bring them into phase with each other. If we disturb one of the clocks, it will get locked into rhythm quite fast. The larger the number of oscillators within such a system, the more stable the system, and the more difficult it is to disturb. It will force a wayward oscillator back into line very quickly. The sound of the body, the heart, is a big noisemaker. We can easily check this by putting our ear on someone's chest and listening to it. Each beat shakes the whole body, and the body has a typical response to this beat, which is quite easily measured. Figure 13 shows what such motion looks like when measured with a sensitive seismograph-like instrument. This movement is clearly related to the heart heat. In fact, the largest peak we see in this graph is caused by the ejection of blood from the heart's left ventricle. The portion between the large peaks looks fairly irregular and is caused by the vibration of the body due to the action of the blood in the aorta, which is the largest artery in our body. This irregular portion is due to a destructive interference pattern set up in the aorta, as will be shown later. When we stop breathing, the irregular signal in figure 13 turns into a nice, regular, practically sine wave pattern. This is surprising, and when we look into the reasons for this behavior, we find that the heart aorta system has become a so-called resonant system in which the length of the aorta forms 1/2 a wavelength of this system. By resonant system, we mean that it resonates just like a tuned musical instrument. Here is what seems to be the case. When the left ventricle of the heart ejects blood, the aorta, being elastic, balloons out just beyond the valve and causes a pressure pulse to travel down along the aorta. When the pressure pulse reaches the bifurcation in the lower abdomen, which is where the aorta forks in two to go into the legs, part of the pressure pulse rebounds and starts traveling up the aorta. If in the meantime the heart ejects more blood and a new pressure pulse is traveling down, these two pressure fronts will eventually collide somewhere along the aorta and produce an interference pattern. This is reflected in the movement of the body and is the reason for the irregular pattern of body motion. However, when the breathing stops, it looks as if some communication has been set up between the heart and the bifurcation. Some kind of a signal seems to travel from the bifurcation to the heart, saying to it, "Heart, hold it. Hold your next pulse until the echo from the bifurcation returns to you. Only then should you eject the next quantity of blood." When this happens and the echo and pulse move out of the heart together, and they continue to move up and down in synchrony, then such a system is said to be in resonance. It causes the body to move harmoniously up and down about 7 times a second, hence the nice, regular, large amplitude sine wave pattern. Height of this signal is about 3 times the average of the normal signal. Another characteristic of resonant behavior is that it requires for its sustenance a minimum amount of energy. Well, but how long can we hold our breath? Certainly not over a minute or so comfortably, and so we start breathing and ruin the nice rhythmic pattern. Let us not forget now that our body includes our head, and inside the skull, carefully packaged, is a very delicate instrument, the brain. This brain is cushioned by a thin layer of fluid and is wrapped in a tight bag, the dura. About the simplest way to visualize this system is to have a relatively soft, round fruit, such as a peach, enclosed in a can containing a heavy syrup. If we shake the can, we find that the peach will hit the top and the bottom of the can and be accelerated with a small delay in the direction in which the can is moving. This movement is quite small, only 0.005 to 10 millimeters. This is exactly what happens to the brain. The question is, how come we are not aware of this happening to us? It's probably because when something is happening to the nervous system for an extended period of time, and that event is not traumatic, it will not be brought to our conscious attention because the portion of the brain that is in charge of censoring and separating meaningful signals from unmeaningful ones will relegate it to the heap of unimportant signals which require no conscious processing. We know from experience that we can easily get used to and disregard the loud ticking of a clock next to us or the noise in the cabin of an airplane. The noise is, however, filed away somewhere and affects us in some subtle ways. If we were to ask the brain how it would like to be treated, whether shaken at a random, irregular rate or in a rhythmic, harmonious fashion, we can be sure that the brain, or for that matter the whole body, would prefer the latter. Rhythm entrainment. Suppose we go out on a balmy summer evening and notice some fireflies settling in a bush, blinking off and on. At first this blinking is random, but fairly soon we notice that an order is slowly developing. After a while we see that the fireflies in the whole bush are blinking on and off in unison. This phenomenon is called rhythm entrainment. It seems that nature finds it more economical in terms of energy to have periodic events that are close enough in frequency to occur in phase or in step with each other. That is the meaning of rhythm entrainment. Let us take another example. When electronic circuits are built so that they contain oscillators of electronic type common in radio or TV circuits that happen to oscillate in frequencies that are close enough to each other, there will be a tendency of the oscillators to get locked in step with each other and oscillate at the frequency of one of them. Usually it is the fastest oscillator that will force the slower ones to operate at this pace. Here again, nature feels that it is more economical if two or any number of oscillators that vibrate at frequencies close enough to each other work together rather than insist on keeping their small differences. Major effects of rhythm entrainment occur in nature. Our biological rhythms are entrained by light and to a certain extent by gravitational effects. These are the two most obvious factors. However, magnetic, electromagnetic, atmospheric, and subtle geophysical effects influence us in ways that are not presently well understood. We usually get up with daylight and go to sleep at night. The sleep-wake cycles of animals and birds are more strongly tied to the light-dark cycle than those of our civilized humanity, because we have developed artificial sources of light and can change our light-dark cycle at will. However, we all know that when our light-dark cycle, which runs our biological clocks, is drastically altered, as when we take a long jet flight in an east-west direction and cross several time zones, such an interference with our biorhythm has quite a marked effect on our ability to function in the new environment for a day or two. An interesting experiment was performed by Professor Frank Brown, Jr. of Northwestern University, Evanston, Illinois. In order to check out what factors influence the biorhythm of animals, he had some live oysters shipped to his lab from the Long Island Sound, a distance of about 1,000 miles in an east-west direction. These oysters open and close their valve in rhythm with the tides. The animals were shipped in tight opaque containers filled with seawater. Upon arrival, they were stored in a lab with no natural daylight. On first examination, the oysters, geared to the rhythm of tides in the Long Island Sound, kept opening and closing their valves. In about 2 weeks, they started shifting their rhythm, and a while later, they stabilized in a rhythm that coincided with the passage of the moon over Evanston, Illinois. In this case, we may assume that the oysters are indeed rhythm entrained by the gravitational effects of the moon. However, it is not only we, the tiny creatures of this planet, who are rhythm entrained. The big and mighty asteroids and the planets themselves are rhythm entrained and develop resonances in their orbits as they rotate about the sun. Asteroids, which are minor planets, will not only respond to the gravitational pull of the sun, but will also be strongly affected by the gravitational fields of the major planets. They must dance, so to speak, to the tune of two masters, and so the asteroids develop little dances to the music of the spheres in which they pay tribute to the forces involved. They go into resonant orbits and describe minor loops around the planets within their major loop around the sun. All the phenomena described in this chapter are of a periodic, repetitive nature. We have made a generalization at the beginning, saying that when such a rhythmic movement occurs, it affects its environment, whether that environment is air, water, solids, electromagnetic, or gravitational fields. In the case of air, water, or a solid, these vibrations will affect our near environment only and can be called sound. If we shake our electromagnetic or gravitational fields, the disturbance in the environment will travel faster and farther. We will still apply the word sound to it, although it will be a sound of a different kind since it would travel at the velocity of light. We could actually associate our whole reality with sound of one kind or another because our reality is a vibratory reality, and there is nothing static in it. Starting with the nucleus of an atom, which vibrates at enormous rates, the electrons and the molecules are all associated with characteristic vibratory rates. A most important aspect of matter is vibratory energy. When we think, our brains produce rhythmic electric currents. With their magnetic components, they spread out into space at the velocity of light, as do the electric waves or sounds produced by our hearts. They all mingle to form enormous interference patterns, spreading out and away from the planet. They are admittedly weak, but they are there. The more finely our systems are tuned, the clearer a signal we can pick out of the general noise and jumble of sounds. When we have a system of tuned oscillators, even the tiniest signal can be picked up. You may recall that it requires very little energy of the correct frequency to drive a resonant system. Our planet itself is producing shock waves in the plasma that fills the solar system. These shock waves interact with those caused by other planets and produce resonances between the planets and the asteroids. In short, our whole reality is based on one common factor, and that is periodic change, or sound. Our senses are geared to respond to all these different sounds, but we are always comparing one sound with another. We can appreciate only the differences in sound. Rhythm entrainment,